on the screen when Wyatt talks how it's like barely moving that line.
Yeah. Oh,
Put
yeah.
that bitch right here if I have to.
I want you to. Like more than anything in my life, I want you to put it right up on your face. And not touch the mic stand. Welcome back to the Garden Fresh podcast. My name is Mason Gardner. Today we are with my friend Matthew Black. All right, what's up, Matthew?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm glad to be on the Garden Fresh podcast here.
Thanks, man. So sorry, we've had some technical difficulties trying to do this thing. I think we're up and running now, it seems like. But Matthew, the other night we went out to eat, and you were giving me a little lowdown on what you've been up to lately, like job-wise. And I thought it was pretty cool. That's why I wanted you on here, because you were giving me a lot of cool, like interesting, like takes on finance, and that's what you've been doing, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I've kind of been a nerd lately in the finance world, like a lot of 20-year-olds. I kind of made a career switch recently, and it kind of got me to where I'm working with a bunch of financial planners and knocking out some licenses, and really been helping a lot of people with their personal finances.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's given me a lot of insight, into the world right now. And so I'm a young kid that's with new, fresh eyes and a lot of knowledge I'm soaking in at this moment.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, getting that from older cats that's been doing it.
That's right. Huge. People that have been doing it for 30 years, lots of those guys. And, it's kind of funny, this bull market that we've been in recently, like many other people. Yeah. I also kind of felt like, hey, anything I touched was turning into gold, investment wise. And then, once things change, you kind of realize just by even being around people that are a lot older than you, how naive even I was, and it's been very sort of a humbling experience. And I've gotten to sort of help a lot of people through that experience.
So you said you made a career change. What were you doing?
Yeah. So I've always been sort of a small business consultant, sort of in prior career. That's what I studied in college.
Oh, okay.
And, my last job, I sold business franchises to people that wanted to do the American dream and open up their own businesses.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it was cool. Yeah. I got to meet a lot of interesting people. Yeah. The small business owners are really the backbone of the United States, and you meet a lot of people that willing to put everything on the line, start a business. I mean, I know that you work with a lot of small business owners yourself, right?
So marketing and stuff. Yeah.
Marketing, yeah. So what's your
little different?
Yeah. What's your takeaway on who the small business owners are in the United States, or people that you work with?
It seems like there's just hustlers, like people that are like not okay with status quo, and they're trying to like really make a change for themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
I mean, I see how it can kind of go both ways. Where we both have a touch on that. You know what I mean? But what I was interested in was like how we are as like a culture. Millennials, like we're just kind of starting to get into learning about money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sadly, that some of us are 30 or whatever that are just starting to like think about the future. And, I mean, what, so as a financial planner, like, how are we supposed to like have like younger people think about it like that? Like, how do we get that to go on?
Yeah. And so I'll just, for FINRA, whoever's listening right now. So I'm not a financial planner.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Currently, I work with a team of financial planners. But that's an ultimate question, because like, I've gotten to mentor a lot of younger guys in their 20s, and there's a lot of influence that I had in my early 20s that shaped the way and the path that I've gotten to where, call it enlightenment or whatever, and everybody has that story about what drives them to learn about money. And, we live in a culture, you're bringing up culture, which is really the biggest part. I just before we get going, investing is very simple but it's the discipline, it's the psychological aspect behind it that's really hard. It's the knowledge, it's the doing the warning thing, and there's a lot of with the world of TikTok and this instant gratification that's going on. It's really, I'd say it's even really difficult for people, especially in our generation, to really do the right things or know what the right things are. When you're watching 18-year-olds, 8-year-olds, like making $1 million a month, making cooking videos. You feel like that meme. I love that meme where it's like, me going to work and it's the clown costume, from the Joker. Me going to work while there's an 8-year-old who is who's making $1 million a month doing cooking videos. And so people see that, and that has a big influence, and also on the culture aspect. When you've got the society has changed. You have a lot of people that haven't seen their parents do the things as much, and when you don't have that example, who's really talking to you about money besides TikTok or Instagram?
Yeah, well, I guess that's one good thing about TikTok, that you can or just the internet. I mean, you can kind of break out of your current status quo with learning about stuff if you really want to.
That is true.
Up to you, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, this is like the most exciting time to live, and I think we are right now. Was this July? We're in the middle of starting of a recession right now.
Yeah.
Stock market's low after our generation's never seen it this low. And there's a lot of things that are changing, but the more that I've been learning, even the last just few months of studying and reading different books and studying the history, I get more and more optimistic about the future and what's possible for different people in their own individual lives, because you can go on YouTube and there's so many resources where you can learn if you've got the desire to.
Right. Yeah. Dude, talking about the big up we just got out of. What did you think about, like, when you're dealing with real money? What did you think about like the NFT thing coming around?
Yeah. So I'd love to hear your thoughts more on the NFT. I'm somebody that's been part of, I've known about crypto for a long time. I'm going to save my thoughts on investing in that, for maybe a off camera kind of thing, but I've been aware of it. I mean, I just remember thinking back and, when finding out about 2011, 2012, the idealism behind those things, and then sort of seeing how it's played out over the last 7 years has been really, really interesting.
Right.
The NFT thing, it kind of sounded like the whole Dutch tulip farm thing, that if people are not familiar, years ago there was a lot of speculation with the Dutch when they were the primary currency. The tulips all of a sudden became very valuable, and you saw this big rise, and then you saw this crash, and we've kind of seen that with the NFT, where when there's a lot of money that was flooded sort of in the market, and you hear a lot of people say that, but printing of money, when that happens and there's a lot, people feel like they have more money, a lot of speculative things start taking place.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like as an artist or whatever, I really toyed with the idea of making NFTs, but I was also like, I don't know how to necessarily market them in a way that would drive a lot of money. I could make them, but what does that do for me? Like, I needed to search out people that actually had some sort of connections. But it seemed like most of the cats that were into NFTs were also big crypto winners. Like people that have actually made a little money in crypto. So they believe in virtual money, and now they're moving to NFTs. But it seems like a lot of people lost a lot of money on NFTs now. As the markets went down, with Bitcoins went down, all that's went down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's. We hear this a lot, in the politics side, that we live in our own silos a little bit, and a lot of times there's one school of thought about crypto that you've been in this revolving cycle where you're only getting positive feedback toward the idealism, right? So let's just use crypto for example, where the great thing about crypto is there's a finite set of it, that can be created. Well, oh, look at the government's printing so much money. Yeah. Oh, crypto's going up. And it's just this feedback loop of positivity toward, NFTs or crypto. And I think some of that is true and had some to play with the NFT rise as well. Every action that's taken place that maybe should be deferring some people was actually being a loop saying, hey, like with the idealism mix with what they're actually seeing, which is the value of the thing going up, and but what are your thoughts on the virtual art rooms being from the art perspective and sort of the new creative space that's been created through that? Or
so have you heard of a guy named Beeple?
I've heard of. I think I've heard of. Oh, is he Monkey?
No,
that's not the Monkey guy.
Look up Beeple White. So he made like hundreds of millions of dollars on NFTs.
Okay,
but he started like doing like crazy like stuff. I think around election time.
Okay,
where it was like, I don't know. It was like Donald Trump's body with like Hillary's head like floating in something.
All right,
I don't know, but does it say what?
$69
million.
Sold one NFT for $69 million.
Now, is that the same? Like, I know there was a big crash, right?
So what I was what I was getting at is like, so some of these, what people need to understand about social media, what drives social media is marketing.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
You think that you get on there and you're enjoying your friend's stuff, but it's slowly feeding you a dose of whatever somebody's trying to sell.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like a subliminal like ad.
Oh, okay. I mean? Yeah, it's creating like the inbound flow, right?
Right. So, but you think you're just enjoying your TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think these people are making NFTs are good at making you think whatever they are doing is important. So
like Gary V, like I know that guy kind of, he got into the baseball cards, and it kind of felt like he was sort of creating a market in a lot of ways. He could sell. Yeah.
So I think a lot of these guys that was getting into NFTs was also a play on selling NFTs. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I'm really excited about this NFT, which I'm not trying to sell you one right now.
Yeah.
I might later, but you don't know that. So I'm trying to get you hyped on NFTs too, and get everybody else hyped on NFTs, and then get other famous people hyped on NFTs. And guess what? I'm going to sell one here in a little bit and make boatloads of money.
Oh man, yeah.
Because you don't see the big players in NFTs buy the expensive NFTs.
Okay.
You see them buy them cheap, hold them, they get big, they sell them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then somebody sold an NFT for $69 million. And it's
crazy.
I'm not. You're asking about the art. The art's cool.
Yeah, well,
but art's always been cool. There's people always been making stuff. I'm glad people are making money on art.
Right.
But
the ones that are hype, that are building it and selling it, are the social media, the branding guys.
Yeah, Logan Paul, Gary V's, people that are good at like creating uproar. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think
I just feel like every influencer on Twitter has a Bored Ape.
Well, so it starts with a select group of people, and then it catches on. Like NBA players get them, NFL players get them, and now like, they're not buying the big ones. Some of them might be, but they get one, they put it up there as their Twitter profile, and then Johnny that just, I don't know, sold his Honda for $15,000. He's about to drop this $15,000 on an NFT
because he's seen the rise.
He's seen all these other people do it. He thinks this is a great investment. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying like Bored Ape will probably stick around, but there's thousands of other ones.
Right.
You know what I mean? Thousands of other ones that people are going to lose money on. Eventually, probably already lost money, can't even sell it for half of what they've bought it for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, I've seen the news and I've seen, $200 million NFT sold for $200 or something now, or is now worth it. Is that what's going on right now?
Kind of. I don't know about you, but if I bought something for $20,000 or $200 million, I'm just gonna hold on to it. If it's worth $200, I'm not gonna. I'll eat it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, at that point, it's not a
Yeah, but that's what's happening.
So. And you definitely have seen some of the people that are getting into things like this are. We're saying it's not we're saying it's a currency or something that be trade, but a lot of people are still viewing it in U.S. dollars. So they're basically viewing it as the same way they're viewing it as an investment, even though that they're saying it's not. And those are the people that have been, I think, some of them that have been getting caught up in buying these things or whatever. But.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, you take, I don't know, take your $200 million, 200 grand, 20 grand, whatever.
Yeah.
And you try to do something on a realistic money investment, you know what I mean, instead of virtual currency. And I'm not saying, like, all of that is bad.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
I'm saying, like, there's stuff that is slow, it's harder work.
Yep.
But will make you more money in the long run if you can withstand that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really, I mean, that hits to the core of me and really the path that I'm going on now and going to be pursuing with the financial planning and why I joined, this team of advisors that have been doing it, that seen it the proven slow way. And it, because it's, with my own story of my overcoming money or learning money and dealing with money is, when I was graduated college, studied business, had tried to open a few small businesses in college that were great experiences. But when I graduated, like everybody else in my generation, and I had student loan debt and had other car debt, and me knowing numbers and business, I kind of felt like, hey, I'm in the red and this sucks. Like, and I signed this contract when I was 18 years old, and for my goals, which were, at that time, I want to be free. I want to have freedom, whatever that means. And now I've got a whole different experience about what that means and things like that. But realizing, like, my whole goal when I graduated college was, hey, I want to be able to, I don't want to be, you get told when you graduate college, you got to have a job, you got to do all these little steps.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be in a situation where I didn't need to depend on a job, because I was also had a little rebel at that time, and I hated the idea of, like, I need to be dependent on anybody, and having that big chunk of debt was a big thing. And so I actually decided I was going to tackle that on. So I started with about $51,000 in debt. I remember the first year I made like $30,000 out of college, putting everything I could toward the debt. Paid it off in about 30 months, averaging about $1,800 a month. But it was the lessons that I really learned were that delayed gratification. And I had all these, like, things that I never thought, that benefits that would come from tackling that goal,
So, like, that's a good point. For example, what motivated you to try to pay down your debt? Because I feel like there's a lot of young cats that have bad, like, auto loans, car loans that you don't have to drive a certain thing to exist, but then you get in it, you're happy, but then now you have this huge pile of debt. Like, what motivated you to go ahead and try to start on paying that down?
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it first was that I really hated feeling like I owed anybody anything. Yeah. And some of that was like going to college and making some mistakes where I owed some people some favors, kind of thing. And I really hated, that aspect. Also, I knew when I graduated college that, hey, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, or I wanted to be a small business owner, or I wanted to help these people. So there was a logic side of it that said, hey, having this thing is not right. But I was also just really motivated. Like, when you're graduated college, I would say, okay, I'm ready to, like, go tackle on the world. And luckily I met some people that sort of had an influence that sort of led me to, hey, maybe the best thing first is let's tackle down this debt, and let's start that path. So it was more of a motivation, and then meeting some older guys. Like, the first thing I did out of college was I went to a cigar lounge, and then I met some old guy who said, hey, you need to join this mentoring thing, because he knew I was a arrogant, little piss head that was, like, ready to tackle on, super confident, and just not really knowing who I was or anything like that. And he led me to this path, which then led to, like, okay, so I had a good influence of mentors that sort of, and then also too, I mean, money is very personal, but whenever, I knew that when I said, okay, I'm going to tackle on this debt, and I realized that most of the people in my life thought it was crazy that, oh, wait, you should be buying the newer car because your old car might break down. I had all these voices or people around me and parents and I, and things like that were speaking against me.
Yeah.
That me being the rebel said, all right, well, I'm going to show you. And it kind of drove me a little bit more to that, and I really got to give my brother a lot of credit because he was a silent voice that on Wednesdays that were like, hey, like you're doing it right. And I just remember like I was selling my first job out of college. I was working in a warehouse. I was pull T-shirts and I'd go sell them. And I was trying to pay off this debt, which felt like a mountain. And I remember listening. I listened to, he may be controversial, but Dave Ramsey at lunch, his radio station would come on. And I just, every hour of listening to that every day, I'd hear these like doctors and stuff like that. I hear them like pay off their debt and how good that felt.
Yeah.
And that was like a little like push of like, hey, you're on the right path, like doing this. And you got to pay attention. Like if everybody's going in one direction and you're going a different direction, you're probably on the right direction, And I saw that it was really hard where I saw a lot of my friends that were living sort of bigger lifestyles because you got to college, like, okay, I'm free in the real world now. And you get your first big paycheck.
Yeah.
And by going the other route, it was hard to say no to a lot. Like I got to where I'd go out with friends and I'd only drink one beer the whole time to make it look like I was drinking the whole night to save. And then they would catch on and buy me drinks and stuff. So, back to your question, it was a lot of just like different influences that then led me to learning about it. But, I think some of it was just desire that I want to change my family history with money. My grandpa was a poor sugarcane farmer growing up. I'm one generation away from, he used to sleep in malaria nets down in South Louisiana, that kind of poor, and that had an influence growing up too of like, hey, I want to, but they were always the bad luck family. Like they always had, that side always had bad things that were happening to them. And it was always bad luck. And being a guy that worked since I was like 12 years old, I hated that mindset of like, it's just me. It's my family. Like we're the bad luck family. And so part of that motivation has been, hey, I'm going to change my family story, my family legacy. And that starts addressing my relationship with money.
Yeah. And,
that was a lot there. So
no, that was what I was going to ask you. I had two questions.
Okay.
But something just popped up.
Okay, yeah.
Do you believe in luck?
Do I believe in luck? Yes.
Okay.
I do, yeah.
I don't know if I do, man.
So I believe that there's a lot of things that are working at the like there's a million different variables and things like that are going on at a time. You know, the world is spinning. That's driving particles in places, which is driving things. And I think all those little things can set up to where, almost like a system goes like that you get a wave going your way or not.
Yeah.
I don't believe, I do believe that like everybody has good opportunities and bad things that happen to them.
Yeah.
A lot of what it is people that are in a place to recognize that they can, that something bad or something good is happening, or setting themselves up to jump on things, or so just like your view, like the glass, like the rosy glasses color, there are certain people that you probably know that everything is black. So if something good does happen, that's lucky, they're probably still going to see themselves as unlucky. And I've got a story behind that. I'll tell that in a second on why I think that is. But why do you don't believe in luck, or you said you?
So I don't. I heard this. It's called the theory of large numbers.
Okay. All right. I'm interested.
Ago,
numbers right here. Okay.
So the theory of large numbers is that there's an odd that something's going to happen at any moment. Like
at any moment. It's not. It's
so
not
there's
like
a 1,000,000 to 1 odd that light falls on my head right now.
Okay.
So at any moment, there's odds going on, right?
Yeah.
We don't know these odds. And then when something good happens, we're like, that's lucky.
Okay. Yeah.
But there was a chance that was going to happen. It just happened to happen when you.
Yeah. That's what you're
now,
saying.
if you say, I feel lucky or I feel fortunate.
Yeah.
As in like I'm glad that happened. But I don't feel like there's like a mystical like thing that prevented that from falling on my head.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
that kind of fits in with my there's a system, there's always something going on. Well, what is Newton's law? Is like if it can happen, it will happen. It isn't
Murphy's
or
law.
Murphy's law,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
so that's that law. Like, hey, if it there's a
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
statistical,
Exactly.
yeah,
So I think like what you were talking about, the bad luck side.
Yeah.
Like I feel like bad luck, taking it as bad luck is almost
Yeah.
a mindset, because you have to know that it's say I walk outside and it's hot.
okay, yeah,
I didn't check the weather that day.
yeah,
I'm like, damn, it's hot. It's always freaking hot. Well, I could have checked the weather and known that it was going to be hot.
Yeah.
That might be a bad example, but I'm saying is like, you can kind of control what is going to happen if you foresee what all the options are.
Right,
and I'm
right.
not telling you to be like anxious and be like, I'm scared a burglar is going to come in, because there is an odd that we get broken in tonight.
Right,
That's a
right.
possibility. But, if I get broken in tonight, I'm not going to feel bad luck. Or, I'm not going to feel like it's bad luck. I'm going to feel like there was a chance it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So...
And so, personally, I've always been a person that's like, grew up really hard on myself always.
Yeah.
And so I never liked that feeling. And it goes back to the family of like, oh, well, like my circumstances are because of something else or somebody else. But here's like a harsh truth, right, in life. And this is to kind of correlate with like your main lesson about young people and money, and it all correlates to that. But the hard truth is like, you can work really hard towards something, and there's still a chance that like you won't be able to see the fruits of that success. And I often have that conversation with a lot of people about like, that burden of like, hey, should you still do the good thing to put yourself in a position to where that thing is? A lot of people with negative mindsets might say no, but that is the harsh truth, is that like, because of this luck thing that you're talking about, the statistical odds, like, there are so many things in life that you can work really hard toward and not hit. Let's just use sports. We love sports as analogies, but you can put yourself in the position and that ball could, bounce out of the bucket and then you lose, But most of life is behavior to be able to put yourself to where those things can happen.
That have the opportunity to.
Yeah, because if you never do that, then you're never going to get that 30% chance that it does happen.
Yeah.
And so, do you want to live your life like? I really am into tennis again, and I used to not be into tennis until I was like a little kid, but now I'm back into it. But there's Nadal, Rafael Nadal. He's the lefty, one of the greatest tennis players of all time.
Yeah.
He had this comment the other day. He played a match with a broken rib.
Yeah.
And he goes, he came back down. It was like, or actually, I think it was the Australian Open, where he came back from 2 sets to love and win his best of 5 match. And he said, they're like, hey, like, how'd you come back from that? Like, emotionally, you should have been beat, And he goes, well, look, I knew that if I just gave up right now, there was a 9% chance that I would lose.
Yeah.
And even if I fought hard, that there would be a 9% chance I would still lose, even if I fought to come back.
Yeah.
And he goes, but, there is that 10% chance that I could win. So I'm not going to beat myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself that chance.
That's cool.
And I thought that was a cool mindset. But.
So I had this conversation with my aunt today. Like, I was up in my aunt's house, and my aunt lives near my mother's house. Right?
Okay.
And I've always thought this about my mom. My mom is like, you could see her down there. She lives they live out in the country.
Okay.
And you could just see like dust flying up. And
one of those country roads, huh?
Well, no, I looked down there and she's like out there like weeded.
Okay.
It's like 102. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was today. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And she's like in her mid 50s, just out there just all day like hustling. And I'm like, damn. I told my aunt, I was like, if we could get her all this energy she has to do stuff, because she won't sit down and do anything, stop doing anything, into like a small business. If I can get her to start a little small business, whatever she's passionate about, she would kill it, because she works her ass off. But it's one of those things, and my aunt said it, and I was like, well, she goes, it's the hard thing is figuring out what you want to do. And I'm like, yeah, but if you don't try to do things, if you don't start doing things, you'll never get to where you're doing stuff, where you're actually being successful at something. Like if you have like a dream.
Yeah.
If you're like, well, I don't know if I want to start this little company, and then wake up 10 years from now and you're like, you know, I wish I would have done. You know what I mean?
It's
Just
tough,
start doing stuff, and then eventually something will take. You know, that's my thought on it.
That is such a good point. And you know, I go through like personal experience of just seeing friends and family struggle with this. I mean, even personally, like, you know, in your 20s, like, let's use the 20s, but you really don't know like what you want to do or who you are, but you got to do the work to figure out. You figured out that there was a guy that I smoked a cigar with one time, and he said the quote that's always stuck with me. He says, you know, sometimes the belief follows the action.
Yeah.
So like start, and then you start seeing yourself doing things, and then you're going to start believing like, oh, that's who I am, or that's who I'm not. You know, and so what you're saying is so true.
Like that,
you know?
was it Wayne Gretzky or Michael Jordan? I don't know which one, but it's like you
miss
take
every
that,
shot, miss all 99% of the shots you don't take, or 100% of the shots you don't take, or something like that.
Yeah, and that's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's true with a lot of things. And like in relationships, if you're trying to meet a lady,
oh yeah,
if you're not talking to no ladies, you're not going to meet no ladies. You know what I mean? Like just try to do it. If you're trying to make money, if you try to start selling something, if anything you're trying to do, you gotta like take the first step, or you're never gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know, I've seen it in multiple ways. So there's like there's a sphere there, or two like sort of walls that you have to look at with this topic.
Yeah,
and you know, I would say I fall more on the you know, sometimes I wish I was more to take action. I'm more slow to act, but then once I do, I go for it.
Right.
Whereas I've mentored some people that they act all the time, but they end up going all these different places because they're also not doing the hard work, which is the reflecting. Yeah. And so it's a kind of a combination of it's hard. It's take the action, reflect. How did I feel? How did I learn? Take the action. It's like that combination makes it.
Yeah, that would be the advanced view of it. Because you have to start it before you can even look back and see what you did or did wrong.
Because I mean, like I would give advice to people in their 20s, like, hey, if you want to feel more confident and more like who you are, and you want to show that to girls, and girls can sense out if whoever is real or not. Yeah, you know, you got to put in the hard work of going through the closet, doing the journaling, like reflecting on who you are, if you liked it or not, or you may wake up 30 years from now never willing to try things because you didn't learn that about yourself or whatever. Yeah,
that's for sure. So you are big into mentoring, like you believe in that process.
I do, because I've had people in my 20s do that. So one of my goals throughout my 30s now is to start giving back. Yeah. Can I tell another kind of half long story or whatever?
Your episode, dude.
And so there's this. It kind of inspired me because of July 4th recently, where I was out in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. I want to say middle of nowhere. It was actually Winston-Salem, beautiful area, but I was there for work. And this was about 6 years ago, and I met this guy who decided he was also there for work, and so we both had nothing to do. And I'm a big history guy, so I was reading this biography about Benjamin Franklin. Yeah, you know who that is, obviously. Yeah. And he's got this really good biography. What's cool on a side note is that all of those guys, they all journaled. All the founding fathers journaled, and so you can look and see like how they thought about their life and there's certain things that you're going on and match it with the things that actually took place, which is really cool. But I'm reading about this guy, and there's this funny part in Benjamin Franklin's life where he shares a bed with John Adams because they're doing like diplomatic work. Yeah. And so they both journaled about it. They're both opposite. John Adams like a Puritan, Benjamin Franklin, you know, a little bit more laissez-faire, you know, kind of guy. Well, they journal about it, and I'm reading it, and it's actually a kind of funny part in history. But I meet this guy, and back to him. He shares a beer with me, and he's got a little Budweiser, and he's also smoking Cowboy Killers. And you know, I actually smoked those, which Cowboy Killers are those Marlboro Reds, right? Just for the people that don't know, you know. And that turned into a night where we ended up actually going to get another 30-pack of beer. You know, one of those, like me and this guy, incredible story. Side note on him, he was telling me about how he was homeless at 29, living on his motorcycle. And then he won this contract to do construction, and he told me overnight he became a millionaire, just like that. And so he was really cool. And the reason I bring him up about the mentoring aspect is that he actually own this house in Hawaii, and I want to make fun of my fiance here and kind of embarrass myself while saying it, but so he kind of becomes a mentor just by meeting him that night. A few later times in my 20s, he gives me advice about managing people or certain things. He's in real estate and been very successful building it on. So he actually has this house in Hawaii, and I always had that in my head of like, man, there's this guy in Hawaii that said I can go visit. I've never been to Hawaii. I'd love to go back. Finally, I mustered up the balls to ask him to go out there with my fiance, girlfriend at the time, and we're just now dating. But she didn't really know that she thought I was really close with this guy, but she didn't know that I barely I've only had 3 or 4 conversations. But I feel like as a guy, when you have connection, with somebody, I could read him, and I felt like, okay, after you share a couple Cowboy Killers and some Budweisers, you're tight, know. But we fly out there. It's 23 hours, flying to get out there, and to Hawaii, and you're flying through Atlanta, and then back to San Francisco, and then to get over there. It's a long day. I'm not sure. Have you ever been to Hawaii or not? It's kind of like a long day of traveling. Maybe the shortest would be 15 hours or something. Yeah. So it's 10 o'clock at night, and we're driving down. All of a sudden, where he lives is in where the locals live, part of Hawaii.
Okay.
So we start leaving all the big flashing lights, and Susanna starts getting a little. I could tell she started to get a little alert.
Yeah.
Now it started looking like backwoods, and I know you've been in the country down in Arkansas, so you've seen some backwoods, and you're in the backwoods once you start seeing floodlights pop on, and then the chickens running across the car, And so we pull in this driveway, and right before we about to get to this guy's house, I just looked at her and I said, "Hey, I've actually got to tell you something. I barely know this guy. We've only talked 3 times, but he's kind of becoming a mentor. Felt like that beginning of a relationship. And then I was like, so if it doesn't work out, I'll buy a hotel for us, and don't worry about it. So he's like, okay. So we come around this little ravine. It's got the grass is kind of over it, and then it opens up, and then sure enough, it's a nice 2-story house on a ravine next to the ocean. Walk in, guy pulls me up upstairs with her. There's fresh dinner that he just made with fish waiting for us. And he's like, all right, and do you want to say grace? And that was after 23 hours. And it was a kind of a trippy experience to begin with. After all that to sit down. But at the end of this week, so it ends up being an awesome week for us. We got to know this guy really well. We got to experience Hawaii, Maui, which is one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been. And he was doing a lot of mentoring. But one of the things he said was all right, I was like, how do I repay you for this? Because I did this whole basically vacation for free, basically. And he was like, look, you just got to pass it on forward. That's all he wanted from that.
Yeah.
And so because of that, those kind of things stick in your head.
Yeah.
And when someone does something really nice to you, those stick with you. And so now I feel okay, now that I'm just getting older, I have experience. I've got mentors in my life, but I'm also now wanting to mentor others to help them as well, because that's what they're asking of me. That's how I repay people that have helped me out in tough times in life, that have helped me develop who I am or set up guardrails. Yeah. That's how I repay them. So that's why the mentoring is kind of a bigger thing to me, and I hope to become sort of the type of mentor that those guys are.
That's really cool, man. That's crazy that that dude happened to be just a great guy.
Oh, and here's the story too. I totally blew this part. So his lineage, his last name was Penn. He was heritage direct link of William Penn and John Adams, the guy that I was reading about that weekend, July 4th in North Carolina. I was literally met his great grandson. And then that's how that happened. So that was actually one of the craziest parts about that story, was that his direct line. And if you look at him, he, the guy looked just like someone that should be in Boston. He was from Boston. That's where he made his money and that kind of thing. But
that's really cool.
But it was really wild to be reading about that guy and then meet his great grandson direct link.
That's awesome.
Is that luck, you think, or what do you think that is? That's the odds. It's just the odds. 1 in 1.2 million, and then I just had my eyes open to jump on that. Maybe.
I mean, that's why I'm saying it's so easy and comforting to think that's luck. You know? What I mean? It's just, but there was an odd get going into it that could happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Well,
could
I think,
you could have a car crash and hit Scottie Pippen.
that's true.
You know what I
You
mean?
could do
Like,
that in Little Rock. Yeah.
There's a chance that happens, but it's slim. But
Right.
there's a chance, and somebody could do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah. But not to take away from that story.
No,
'cause
no,
that
no.
story was great. Yeah.
That's what's crazy. It's like,
Yeah.
you start asking those questions of like, man, how did that happen? You know?
Yeah.
But it also, when people have those like experiences, that it does make them start asking bigger philosophical questions, you know?
I think humans they're more apt to accept a hug
Okay.
when it comes to like it comforting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to deal with reality of real life. So when something like that may happen, it feels like the world is hugging you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The world's kind of
yeah.
like helping you or whatever, making you feel good. And it makes you feel comfortable that may have, you can rely on, like, I'm lucky. You know
Yeah.
what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. That's a good point. And that's how I see what you're saying. So some people can reconcile like how they are in life to luck, because
Well,
it's an easy way to like,
Yeah. And there's so many
if they feel
different-
more fortunate than say other people that, that's what you're
Yeah, it's. I think it's a mindset thing. What you're talking about your family, it's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
All right. So you told me that story about you, like, I don't know how you even explain it, but your little
Talking
thing,
about the clutch thing?
Mr. Clutch,
Oh,
with your
God.
brothers. Yeah.
Oh, you want to tell that?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
told me that, and that wasn't true. So yeah, it's
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds very corny, but it's a very like lesson on psychology and mindset at an early age. I was in high school and I met this guy, or this professor was telling me, a simple line that said, "Hey, yeah, there's a study that came out and that said like you can change your mindset by just telling yourself who you like, that you're good at something or you're good under pressure." And me being a competitive guy with a couple other brothers, like, I always had this view of like, hey, I want to be like good under pressure. I want to be the guy that hits the 100-foot putt that everybody starts cheering on, you know. And obviously I was in high school, so I was in that dreaming world at that time. So, I said, okay, I want to be clutch under pressure so that way I can beat people. So I took what the guy said and I said, all right, I'm going to start trying this out against my brothers and just see what happens. So I started saying, and I built this brand of like, okay, I'm Mr. Clutch is what I called it. Okay, I'm Mr. Clutch. I changed my video game names to Mr. Clutch. I started practicing really hard, and so a lot of it was hard work too. Where I was practicing, and I practiced as if it was under pressure for the win. Well, guess what that was doing? Now I've learned that later. That was making me do better under pressure, and I was practicing under circumstances. When I would play with them, I would say, I've just built this whole brand in their mind that, okay, I'm clutch, and I was building it for myself.
Yeah.
And then, what actually happened by doing those things was all of a sudden, if I did something clutch, which statistically is probably odds are happening one out of whatever, and maybe because I was practicing.
And working hard,
I was, working hard at it, that when I did do it, it was like, oh, that's Mr. Clutch right there. He's doing it. And I started noticing that the same maybe negative momentum as someone that's negative, there was like all of a sudden this positive like branding of builds of saying, okay, I'm clutch. Even if statistically maybe I wasn't, it started seeming like, okay, I was clutch. And then I did have some big moments where I did sink a 40-foot chip to make it to win or something like that. And the fun part about that was by the time I got to the 18th hole, I'd be playing with my brothers after like 6 months of doing this experiment. They started believing it, and then it just started working against them without me even knowing it. I'd step up to the 18th tee, and if we were all tied, they literally would say, "Oh man, Mr. Clutch," and I would see them shank it into the woods, and then all I'd have to do is make a par. And it's funny that you said that today, because today I got to play my brother in a tennis match today, and
we need to go, dude.
Huh? We need to. I saw a tennis racket in the garage.
Yeah,
let's do it, dude.
I'm down.
I've been going to the athletic club.
Oh,
and
okay.
It was
parents go over there.
No, you should. Yeah, we've been going. It's like the indoor blue court.
Okay.
And man, you feel like you turn a little kid because you feel like you're one of the pros. You walk in there and like the lights pop on.
Okay.
Me and my brother walked in at separate times, so it felt like we were doing a professional. This is our like 7th time of playing, and he's been beating me the last 6 times. So today I was like down, a couple games. I needed to make a comeback, and I had to remember like, oh yeah, hey Clutch, like don't give up. Like I tried to say like, don't give up. I was down in a game 40-0, which now tennis, so it's a pivotal game where he's trying to close me out. It's 5-4. If he wins that game, he wins the set. He's serving. I'm down 40-0. There's a point where I tried way too hard on and I won, but I was sitting there thinking like, man, why did I just try really hard? Like I still have to win 3 more points to not even lose the set. Well, then he choked a couple times, and then it turned out that effort gave me the position to at least have a chance, and then I finally broke my hump of losing against my brother.
That's awesome.
Using that mindset stuff.
Yeah. Well, all right. So for me, like background on confidence.
Confidence. Yeah.
So, I think as a young kid, I was like kind of chunky, but I was like 8 inches taller than everybody.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Chunky, but 8 inches taller than everybody.
Yeah. So I was like,
not a full foot, but you were like just looking down.
For example, in 3rd grade, when I was 9 years old, I was 5'8".
Wow. Okay.
So like most kids are not.
No, they haven't hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So So like I was always like every sports team, like I would join like a little league, and like coaches would be like fighting over me.
They're like, he's the only tall kid here. Like we want him. That. Yeah.
Well, I had like decent like athletic like build. Well, like my first, I don't know. I feel like the only thing that like got me in when I moved to schools, because I probably went to like 6 different elementary schools,
right?
Until I like finally went to Mount Vernon. And it was like the first thing that people would like accept me on is like playing sports. You know what I mean? Because I was like good at a sport. They might not know me, but I could play basketball or I was good at kickball or whatever random.
That got your foot in the door with the people.
Yeah. So like I really like tried to lean hard on sports throughout school, baseball, whatever. Well, in high school, we went to the state finals and lost. Right.
Okay.
And
what sport was this?
Basketball.
Okay.
Went to the state finals and lost. And, that was kind of like, it seems now it's like minuscule, but as somebody that's like so invested in sports.
Oh, dude, it's the end of the world, dude. Yeah.
Losing a state finals game, you're like crushed. Well, that was a huge fail. Not on me, but, you take it kind of
You take it personally, yeah.
Well, like, it's just those failures, like, and then you continue to have small failures until like you come to a point that you're not even scared to fail at something.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Where like I will try to start a podcast not knowing if anybody will freaking listen to it, but I don't give a fuck if I fail at this. You know what I mean? I'm going to learn something. I'm going to have fun, but at least I'm trying. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point. Yeah.
So I don't even know where I'm exactly going with this.
So you're talking about that's like kind of where you developed some confidence. Was through the failing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I don't have to necessarily win.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try my damnedest. You know what I mean? So going into it, I'm not scared to lose.
Yeah.
Half of it, I think I might lose, but you're not gonna know that because I'm gonna try my hardest and I'm gonna mess with you. Yeah. Making you think that because I'm not scared to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a dangerous. Just from a sports perspective, that's a dangerous person to play. Whoever seems like they're not scared to lose,
right?
But no, I mean, we talked about like, the goals and like if you should have goals or not in your life, and I've got differing opinions depending on the situation. When I was early 20s, it definitely was like hit goals, but then your identity starts becoming wrapped around with the goals or not.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But with like the failures, that you were talking about having like. When I have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and one of the coolest parts about them is you learn that they've had many failures before they had their success, and we often always see where they are at their success, but like only good things come from people that try, and that's that Theodore Roosevelt quote, the man in the arena. Yeah. There's no guarantee, but we've talked about how like, it's really cool to see you trying all these different things because, like, that's how you get growth, man. I mean, that's the only way you grow as a person. Right, and then you just keep kind of finding out where I'm good at. You learn from each failure. And the people that that see the world as an oyster, and that get the pearl, are probably the ones that have like failed the hardest and felt it the hardest. You know, which is really cool.
I mean, there's so much you could take that and go into life, and just like with relationships. You know what I mean? Like failed relationships also set you up for a better relationship.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it sucks going through, but you've learned like what you will take and what you won't take and stuff like that. Yeah. Dude, what was I gonna say to you? I had a question. I'll cut this out.
Yeah,
I had a question for you.
It's all good.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to my notes real quick if I can find them. All right, so I wrote this down. Haters help you see weaknesses.
Yep.
And your blind spots. Take advantage of that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Haters
help you see weaknesses and blind spots.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that.
Okay.
As in, not necessarily like somebody coming at you, but it can be anybody from like a parent saying like, blah, 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 kind of critiquing you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't necessarily see it because it's hard to see from your outside, but then you can build on certain things, whether, you know, haters suck, but sometimes you can grow from that.
Dude, that's it's funny. I mean, I feel like every time we talk, there's like 8 ways I want to go with that comment. So let me start with the first one that came to mind. We'll just roll with it. But there's a great quote about like little kids that say like kids, especially with like learning disabilities, that they say like a lot of times their kids' greatest like weaknesses end up becoming their like strengths later in life.
Yeah.
And the reason being is like, okay, hey, say like a kid is really hard at listening as a kid. Well, they have to like overcome that weakness. So they have to work hard at it, and they have to find other ways to like be successful to get stuff done. So then they end up maybe not the best listener, or they end up working really hard at becoming a listener because everybody was telling them you're a deaf, dumb kid or something that, you know?
Yeah.
And you see that with like people, especially like that maybe had learning disabilities, that, you know, entrepreneurs, like, what are they notorious for? Like, what is it that an entrepreneur's like grade point average in college?
Nothing.
It's a C.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like that most times you meet like CEOs, entrepreneurs, like they're often had C average,
or it was bad in high school and then it was good in college, or but there's like a pattern of it, them not like necessarily having great grades. Yeah,
exactly right. So now to go like deeper, because I feel like you can't address like a lot of things in life without going deep, which is where I like to go, because it kind of gets to the core. But so nice thing about having haters and that have you blind spots. So, you know, people that are in their 20s, since we were talking about millennials or younger people today, it's really important to find like people that are haters, but like are your friends that are haters, that can call your blind spots out. You know, because I think we kind of live in a culture where like there's not a lot of people that can give good criticism, and then a lot of people that can take it. Because you also don't want your haters will manipulate you. They'll tell you have blind spots that you actually don't, so that way they can kind of bring you down. I've had a lot of those bad friends over the years, but I've seen my most growth when I've had people that were willing to tell me what my blind spots were in like a loving way. But that's really hard to like find or like get to, you know.
Well, we talked about last time with John about how like team sports.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, team sports, you can like, you get a lot of like shit talking from your friends.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I can see what you're talking about, like where, you know, usually your friends are going to be the ones that'll say like something kind of like edgy, but it might help you. You know what I mean? Like it really could like help you down the road, because you might not see that until they said it.
I mean, my best relationships, I feel like I've got a few friends, but some of the closest ones I have are the ones that like, you know, will call me up and say, hey, like you're being a jerk, you know, or you're doing this, and this is like, this is what I'm seeing, and this is what's going in. And sometimes I may take away and be like, this guy's wrong, but at least and then I'll be like, hey, but I appreciate that he's coming from. Yeah. Or I'll like say, oh man, he's right. I've had a lot of moments like that. And those are the best like relationships that you can get, you know. Yeah. So that's what kind of made me think of. And then here's the third thing it made me think of, which was like, do you see like what motivates you now? Like I know you're hardworking, you do a lot of things. Like what motivates you at this moment in your life?
Well, I think it is all the past failures.
Past failures.
Just like knowing that I'm better than those, and then I want to prove to myself like I can achieve something. You know what I mean?
So is there like if I said, okay, is there someone that you're proving yourself to at this moment?
No.
See that
Like,
and I didn't get the sense that you have that. But
yeah.
there's a lot of people that carry, and this kind of goes to one of the points that I was thinking of, which is, a lot of people that are very successful, and you can just see them like you see them all the time in the corporate world. You should see them everywhere. You probably have dated a few of them, but you see all these people that are walking around with this armor that they've got outside, and what it is it's them proving that they're still proving that 8th grade coach wrong.
Yeah.
They're still proving they're dead wrong, and that's why like the fatherlessness thing in the United States is a really big topic, but.
Mm-hmm.
But like you see people and they're like, man, they're carrying around this thing. They're still trying to prove somebody. And I will say that using haters to see your blind spot is great as motivation, but you got to be careful because I've carried that in my own life where I've like wanted to prove people wrong too much, and I realized like, man, that actually I was doing it for them, not myself.
Yeah,
and that's a big lesson.
Well, I think so much of my youth, I felt like I was trying to fit in.
Okay.
And then it got to a point where I felt like I was not going to fit in.
Yeah.
So I went the opposite way. You know what I mean? I was trying to be unique, dressed, in a certain way, whatever that I liked,
right?
And not like what the popular thing was or whatever. I got
you get your tattoos,
or whatever. It's not like it's to a point where it's just like I want to be my whatever I am. Only, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to like live my life for other people.
Yeah,
and that's I think past relationships or whatever. It's like I'm thankful for Mary Kate because she likes me for me.
For you, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it takes a lot of like kind of soul searching to finally like settle on like if I'm happy, then everything's good. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to get in a relationship where you're starting to please the other person instead of pleasing yourself, and then you might, tailspin into like self-hate or whatever.
That's a good point. So, do you feel like you're unique then in that way, like compared to your peers, or?
I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I would say that. I would say probably so. I mean, I would think that I feel unique, and like I try not to. There's like people that influence me that are bigger than my like circle.
Right, yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like I fucking love Matthew McConaughey.
All right. Yeah.
People like big time people.
Yeah.
Not, it's not like I'm trying to prove him wrong. Like people that influence me like with their philosophies or whatever it may be. That's where I kind of I gravitate to, but it's not like I have necessarily. I feel like I fit in with like today's like culture, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, it does. I mean, I was just asking if because it does seem like that's like, I keep going back to the core, and I relate a lot of that to finance, but it's going back to knowing who you are, being accepting of who you are. I mean, those are the big things in life, and once you get those things in place, you can kind of really tackle on all the other things. Life gets easier to do more things, and so that's why I like to ask that to see if you, because it seems like it is unique,
Yeah, I think so. I feel that way.
Yeah,
least,
I mean, you see a lot like people our age, like a lot of them have already been divorced and things like that, and a lot of that may just be because of the acceptance of who they are,
Yeah, I think especially in the South, that we allow a lot of people to dictate our thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean? Whether it's parents, friends, whatever, church, whatever happens in the South. Like a lot of that, instead of like kind of being comfortable with who you are, you start feeling like you need to be a certain thing for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of a sticky thing to base your life around, because eventually it's going to reach a head where you don't like who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then what do? Your life starts crumbling around you because you've built this life on the foundation of a false person that you thought you were going to be. You know what I mean? Or tried to put out there.
No, I mean, that hits deep. Like, I just remember in college, like, one of the low, when it felt like it was a low point in my life, where I remember everybody knows, like, Dixon Street in Fayetteville. You know, I'm walking back to my apartment. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had this, like, cerebral, like, heaviness feeling of, like, you know, just these thoughts of, like, man, one thing could just crash, like, all these relationships and these things that I have, which, you know, in college, it's all very platonic. It's just so platonic. Everybody is trying to be the best in this area and to even with their friend groups and be these certain things. And, you know, that feeling hit so hard of just being like, man, like I've got all these things, but I just felt so weighted and alone that, hey, one thing could just top all these things. And then sure enough, there was a couple things that maybe did those things, you know? And, so yeah, it's really, really interesting that you kind of said that. But actually, so I did have a question for you, which was like, when did you start traveling and hiking? Like, what stage in your life did that? Because that's what we initially connected on, was the national parks. And
well, actually, it was after our breakup.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Me and Wyatt.
You and Wyatt. Okay.
Yeah. I think it was around my birthday in like 2000, maybe like 17. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go. I was looking up.
About 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's
about 25, 26 at that point?
I was looking up national parks in Texas. Okay. I was like, I'm going to go down there. And then I was like, well, New Mexico's not that far from Texas. You know what I mean?
It's like it's right there. Yeah.
So I was like, all right. I started like searching national parks in New Mexico. And
you got Wheeler's Peak and
I took like a week off of work, planned it out. I was just going to drive out there solo. And I was like, I just randomly was like, yo, Wyatt, do you want to go to New Mexico with me? Not thinking he would be down. He was like, yeah. It was like 2 weeks before I was going to leave. And Wyatt like was like, hell yeah.
And he went?
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
I know. Anyways, Wyatt, I had an Altima at the time.
Okay. I love that.
Folded the back seat down, made like one of the seats was down. It made like a bed where your feet stick in the trunk.
Yeah.
And we just like alternate drove out there. It was like 17-hour drive.
Yeah.
Got out there to White Sands National Park.
White Sands, right on,
Yeah, pulled in there as the guard was opening the gate.
Oh man,
dude, it was sick.
And it was beautiful, huh?
But yeah, that was my first trip. I got a New Mexico tattoo for that.
I think the driving schedule was like Conway to Lubbock, and me Lubbock to White Sands.
Yeah, I think I drove like 11 hours, and then Wyatt drove all night, like all.
Yeah. You know, I had like a similar moment for myself that was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was around 2016. I had met this guy. We were talking mentors. He was a former boss and a good role model, but he had challenged me to do 14ers and climb these 14ers. And this all actually relates to basically the main thing of finance was delayed gratification. But I had been traveling a lot for work, and I was like, man, I want to go out and I had a week off, so I'm going to go climb a 14er. But I'd never done anything hiking. Never really left Arkansas with the exception of working for jobs. So I'd just gotten to see New York City for the first time. And so I looked it up online and get in my car. I remember my family and stuff being like, oh man, you're gonna die before your brother's wedding. And and I had these 14ers picked out that I was going to go try, but really didn't do any research that I probably should have. I just tried to figure it out. And I just remember that feeling, man, of driving down that Oklahoma sunset. And it felt like the further I got away from the house, like the more and more relaxed I felt, the more and more like any negativity in my life. I was just going through a breakup myself.
Yeah.
That breakup was just like slowly like going away. And then, that drive out there was and I had actually had a 2-door Honda Accord that I didn't mind in. Yeah. And I put that thing all the way up to, 10,000 feet or 9,000 feet where the trailhead was, where all the other Jeeps were. And scouted out the peaks, and it was an awesome day, just hiking up, doing the 14er, and I get to the top, and I'm like, man, this is a great accomplishment. Just drove 15 hours out here, low, not used to this altitude, but I made it to the top. And then on my way down, I passed two grandmas that are in their 70s, and it kind of took away the majesty of that experience, of this strong man thing that I just did,
That's funny shit.
But those things those road trips, I think a lot of the way you feel about yourself and address certain things with money and life, you only learn when you're traveling like that and you get those experiences, which is why I was curious. Not a lot of people get to have those feelings, of that, and then all that alone time, being out in a car, seeing everything that's so valuable.
So what got me into it is my buddy Dylan. I think he was he just graduated high school, so young cat, and I'm maybe 4 or 5 years older than him. So he's from the same hometown. Well, he had this idea of taking a trip out west by himself. He had a Jeep Cherokee, sorry.
Nice. Okay.
And $1,400, and went from Little Rock to San Francisco, just driving all the way around Highway 1 and stuff like that, staying in hostels.
So cool,
and just being as cheap as possible. And when he did that, I was like, dude, that's
sounds cool.
Shit. Yeah. And even if you have no money, what I mean? You can still see shit and do all the free stuff that is cool as hell.
Well, that was going. I'll correlate that back to money, since the nice intro that you had about finance and stuff. But one of the things with money is when I started doing those things, I was in the middle of trying to pay off the debt and learn about money and save. So I gave up a lot of hobbies that I loved, which were golf and things like that that were expensive. But I freaking learned that, hey, it doesn't cost, if you do it right, you can travel all around the world and in the country, not spend that much. But then all the things that were a lot of fun and are actually good for you, like hiking and stuff, it's free. And
it's all free.
It's all free. Or maybe it's $10 pass, but that's one beer, and then you get to spend out there 14 hours all day.
Dude.
And then, did you notice when I started hiking, I started meeting all these happy people, and that changed the way I viewed life. I was like, oh, there's happy people out here that aren't so into their life and business and all these things,
Well, you get these huge hits of
dopamine,
kind of, but it's
the endorphins or
introspective thought.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Because you see large amounts of land, and you realize you're just a tiny dot on this huge earth. You know what I mean? And it's really easy to get depressed in your own shit at your house, in your little bubble.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
It's there's so much out there. It's you just have to start. Making an attempt at seeing it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a plane, and it was the first time I was going to Hawaii for work. This was a different island, but I just remember kind of writing down some thoughts, hey, I don't want to lose this feeling of wonder and sense of love, and when you're up in the air, when you're traveling, there's no direction signs, but you are moving forward. It's just you're moving forward, and I remember that feeling strong of I don't want to ever lose this this sense of wonder. And I really love that quote, which is keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground.
Yeah,
I think that was Theodore Roosevelt, or do you know who said that?
I don't know,
but that's a great quote. It's keep your eyes on the stars, which is that, because there's a Theodore or Churchill has that quote of or maybe Ben Franklin. One of those guys says that so people die at 35, but they're buried at 79. I think that was Ben Franklin actually said that, which is a good part of that. Okay, Theodore. Oh, so no one really knows. Theodore Roosevelt said it. Maybe. Ayn Rand. Okay, yeah, she that was an Atlas Shrugged, probably.
They stole it from Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been older than all of those people. So But Ayn Rand's got some great quotes if you ever look at her stuff, whatever your thoughts are on her.
So, I need to get back in journaling, man. When I did it, I was probably like 22, 23.
Yeah.
And I did it for a little while, but to me, do you go back and read your stuff?
So I do sometimes, and sometimes I don't.
So for me, it was like therapeutic just to get it out.
Yeah.
I never like reread it.
Yeah.
I just it felt good to like explore those thoughts. Does that make sense? I date a therapist, but I've never been to like therapy. You know what I mean? But that was my closest thing. I feel like to therapy was just allowing that to come out. You know what I mean?
You feel like lighter. Like the way I kind of view it, everybody has their own like different view on it. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like as I've gotten older, I try not to be so stringent on the lines as far as what I do. I kind of have this joke with my friend about like there's this thing with entrepreneurs in business where it's like, yes, I do wake up early. I do get times where I take cold showers. No, I don't squeeze limes in my eye because people get like too far into it where it's like you miss like sort of the relaxing, the growth, and the acceptance. But with journaling, like the way I got into it because there was my friend, his mom was going through cancer, and he was just so down. But then he calls me up one day, and he had just had this like emotional like free energy because he had just written like 6 or 7 pages about his feelings. And I remember going, man, I want that. And this actually applies to money. I'm going to try to throw the things that apply, but a lot of money, good habits are just good habits. And so I just tried to make it like a habit. Yeah. And once I did, it kind of stuck. But the way I journal is like, I like writing, free writing, like just thoughts, emotion. That's where I like to write songs and play a little guitar. So that's where I get to my best writing is when the emotion hits, and then I get to write, certain things about it. And then what I think is cool is like if you think about like our life as a story, we've got all these like different chapters. Yeah. What's cool is like we've got Instagram for the picture, but then I like to go back and view like sometimes you'll see that 2 years ago you were doing this. Well, I like to sometimes pick up the journal, and then I can actually read how I was processing that. And my thing is, I met a guy who said that he has this like what he does with the journals. He ends up turning them into a book that he passes on to his kids because he wants his kids to know how much he was thinking about them. And I like the idea of like, hey, I'm not a painter, I'm not the best musician, even though I in my head I try, But I like the idea that like, hey, there's some sort of life story that maybe my kids or grandkids one day can like read and pick up, and then they'll be like, hey, when Matt was 25, he was in love and getting dumped and like and all these things, but he was a real human, And for me, so that's where I like the journaling. Like, so I don't read it too much. It's more of a therapeutic kind of get it out, but it is cool to like mark the little chapters in my life, the good and the bad, because those things sort of like make the story of your life,
Well, like I talk about this all the time where I view like how I don't care really what other people do, but how I view social media is that really this is like a journal for my children or my grandchildren to like take part in. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because that's the only people that are going to care about it when I'm gone.
Yeah, no one really cares now.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's like, you're so like scared to put out your life. Yeah. But really, like, who looks at that is the people that actually care about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 2 points on that. First, when I first started journaling, and that was like when I was in my early 20s, and you're always so like insecure. Like, I was writing it as if like I could tell I was writing it for someone else to like read. Yeah. And then after a while, I got write it. That's the only place that like you can like write your thoughts and yourself, and be real with yourself, and that's where authenticity comes from. But the second, I had this experience in Detroit. Another story, I guess, but I met this. Do you know that show, Hardcore Pawn? Do you remember that show?
Pawn Stars.
Pull it up on Google. Hardcore Pawn. See if you remember these guys. Les and Seth Gold. See if you can pull up the images. There you go. And I think pull up Seth, or at least that way you can see what the show is. So maybe that picture right there, the Blaze TV. So these guys were like the pawn shop shows that were really famous. Yeah. You had the one in Vegas. Well, this was like the hardcore version. There was really only 2 on cable news from like, I think they were around for like 10 years or something like that. So I had this experience and maybe 6 years ago, where I was going up to Detroit and I had a mentor say, "Hey, you need to go see this guy." Well, this is where I would give bad advice and say, I didn't look up the guy at all. I didn't know what. So I had my coworker drives me down 8 Mile Road and gives them an address, and it's like the rough part of 8 Mile Road. It's gun store, liquor store, gun store, liquor store. You know how like Dave Chappelle talks about, yeah. And drops me off, and pulls me up to this pawn shop, and he goes, "I don't know, like, how do I tell work, like, if you don't come back, because it was a rough area, and there was a lot of people out to get their payday checks, that kind of thing." Yeah. And so I said, "No, I'm going to be fine. I'm fearless 25-year-old." So I go in there and I text the guy that I was supposed to meet and say, "Hey, I'm here." 20 minutes comes by, I'm in this pawn shop, that's in Detroit on 8 Mile Road. And it looks just like the movie, like where Eminem came from, like that area. And that's where this guy's located. So all of a sudden, this guy, the Seth Gold guy, walks out. And then all of a sudden, people like start looking at him. They want to start taking pictures. He looks at me, and I give him the finger. And he, like, not the middle finger, but like the finger of like, "Hey, I feel you," Yeah. And so he pulls me back. And now people think I'm famous. So they start taking pictures of me with this guy. And after that, I spent the whole day with Seth Gold. And then I eventually, like, as I'm talking to him, he realizes that I don't really know who he is. So he immediately, like, changed. Like, he thought he was going to be talking to somebody that thought he was famous. And it's the one time where that didn't work, me not knowing, because he, like, relaxed all of a sudden. Because he was like, "Oh, I'm just talking to somebody." He's so used to people talking to him because he's famous. But this was, like, a hit show for, like, many years. And man, it was like the coolest experience where I felt like I was a business podcast where I'll just ask him all these things about his business. And to social media, I asked him about, like, okay, so now that I've just learned that you're a famous guy with this reality TV, like, how do you view that with your business and stuff? And he goes, "Well, look, he's like, only thing I care about is my business and my growth. And everything else is just tools. And I know you're in marketing, so this is the way he looks at it." He goes, if there was a hammer to make my business better, I would grab a hammer. If it's a nail, I'm going to do that. If it's a reality TV show and that helps me grow my business, then I'm going to do that. And that changed the way I viewed it with social media, and it helped me get over my, like, insecurities of being like, it's just a tool. Like, it's just something for your life. Like, that's all it is. You've got all the control over it. It's not about how people look or anything.
Well, like I was saying at the beginning, like, social media is a marketing tool. Yeah. And to its core. Right. Everybody thinks it's just being friends, and the whole thing is built to sell you stuff.
Yeah, it's like that inbound marketing, right? Like, it's supposed to, like, lead you down paths where you're thinking you're in control, and then no, it's not. It's tracking all of it.
You can either be a consumer or you can take advantage of the tools that it gives you. Yeah. I don't know. You've probably never been on, like, the back end of, like, Facebook ads or anything like that.
I've never been on the back end of. I mean, I've helped set people up Facebook accounts and ads.
But dude, they can get down to Wyatt wearing ankle socks and know that. You know what I mean? They could, if people buy that stuff, I can sell him. I can market to him. You know what I mean? They're so good at knowing who you are because you spend so much time on there. You like certain things, and they know where you're at and what you're most likely going to want. Yeah. You know what I mean?
What's that story? There's this father that finds out that his daughter's pregnant because he started getting all these ads, like pregnancy ads, and it found out based on whatever she was searching for before she even knew she was pregnant, because it just knew, like, in the algorithm of the thing that he was searching trippy, for.
But so, like, I feel like I've tried my damnedest to be on the making money side of it. You know what I mean?
Being in marketing, obviously you're biased, but do you see, or maybe let me take that back. Maybe you're not biased. Do you see social media as a net positive to the world or a net negative to the world? Just in obviously, I mean, there's tools and things like that, but just like from a world perspective, maybe mental health perspective.
That's a big question because, mental health, no.
Yeah, negative there. Okay.
But I do think that there's a sect of people that have changed their life for the better financially.
Okay.
All kinds of different reasons. But there's also people that have taken their life because of social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they talk about young girls, like the suicide rate for like teenage girls is like crazy high.
It's gone up a lot. And young men too. Yeah.
But
yeah,
social
young
media.
girls. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like guys can have a fist fight and be fine and be buddies after it. Girls, that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can fuck with them.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. Mental health, definitely not. You know what I mean?
It's also at the early stages of those girls' lives, like their teenage. Years,
pivotal time in their life. Yeah, for sure.
Well,
I don't know. And
they don't know how to control those.
Well, and I think there's something. I've been thinking a lot about this recently, just this part of it. But I think there's something like evolutionary, like in the fact that if you don't belong to a group, let's say our ancestors, you died. Because you were outside.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the wild animals, and maybe I've been watching too much Nature's Metal kind of, thing. And you see that the one that's always outside the group is the one that ends up being like killed, So I'm wondering if some of that is like, there's that innate, because, like when you're growing up, not fitting in, like it's like, it hurts in a cerebral way. And maybe we're somewhat designed to like want, that's why it hurts so bad is because we're supposed to want to be part of the group. So that way for survival or something. And now with social media, it's like that like kills it even more, because
because I feel like there's more almost like, yes, you can find camaraderie in like groups.
Yeah.
But it seems like social media is like, it's just a war zone for groups. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I feel like more people are there to like talk shit about other groups than they are to be friendly with the groups they're in. That makes sense. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It's not like I don't go on Facebook and I don't see like the wholesome interactions that I see in the real world, same way.
Yeah.
Because, and I've told a lot of people, like when you post something, you're asking anybody you've ever met to comment on that, and if they're in a dark place, like they can get into your world, I guess. But all right, so mental health.
I think I don't know. It's just
complicated kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a hard answer. I think
that's
for
a good
humanity,
question.
Yeah, it was a good question. For humanity, no. For capitalism, yes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're looking to make money, great. Resource.
Yeah.
But Wyatt has to be. Go pee, Wyatt. If you're looking to make money, it's awesome.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I just think that 90% of the population don't use it as a tool. They use it. They consume.
They're just consuming it, and therefore they're being led down the whatever mental, emotional feelings that they want because
they're fucking storming the Capitol or some shit. You know what I mean? It's just like
they feel inspired.
It really gets to them instead of like them not understanding like this is all kind of a fabricated thing to kind of lead you in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, like emotions is what make people money.
Yeah,
that's really all it is, right? Like most sales, it's preying on someone's emotions, or if you're, when people are sad, like they buy chocolate. The guy buys his roses when he screws up. It's like natural in a way, but you're right, and so if you're just a consumer, I guess. That's where like you meet people that are on social media and they've been outside in the real world a little bit. You just see like they're just so like they're ping pong balls that are bouncing off of whatever is emotional that day, and that's kind of when I see people like that, it's so sad. I want to just like shake them and say, dude, this world is amazing. Like open your eyes, like walk outside, like get out of that vortex of whatever you're in, you know, with people.
No, that's true, man. And it is sad, but I don't know. I feel like it's a hard question to answer. It's just some of those people, like, you have to be pretty, I don't know, perceptive on, like, not attacks, but attempts at stilling your emotional free will, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like when you give your emotional energy, you got to be, you only have so much of it. You know, we call it like filling the tank. Yeah. And you're right. A lot of people, you give that to that, oh, you saw this chick post this picture, you want to be like that. Well, now that just took some of your emotional energy into it. And do you think, I know we're talking about finances, but some of the financial problems that young people have today, do you think social media has a play into some of the behavioral things, you know?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel like positive or negative, I think that I think our culture has shifted to, like, if it's most of their actions are like reactions to social media.
Oh, most of the actions are reacting.
Yeah,
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a clever way of saying that.
Yeah, it's just like they see things.
Yeah,
they want to fit in with that. Yeah, and then now they go do that. You know,
like it's like a cause of, oh, I see that family goes to Europe. I should be doing that in my life.
Yeah,
I'm gonna either go to Europe and now I've added more debt, or crap, I need to go take a job that actually is probably not good for me, because now I want to be able to spend money so I can go to Europe, and that kind of is like the cycle.
Things, you know what I mean? There's people that fabricate that type of stuff to like keep up like that's like a J. Cole quote. It's like a J. Cole quote that was like maybe it's J. Cole, but it's about girls taking pictures to like Drake.
Stephen Drake.
Yeah.
I like that we brought Drake. I was wondering when he was going to get in the podcast.
What is that line?
It's not
like
Drake
girls
Bell.
taking pictures to like post later, so it makes it seem like you're still there or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that is the biggest thing. And and so like I post travel photos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I've said many times, this is my art.
Yeah.
At no point am I like, you know, I take hundreds of photos on a trip.
Yeah.
Do you want me to come home and post fucking 300 photos
right,
tonight?
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, so like you should see like my hard drives of photos that I haven't posted. You know what I mean? But I'm going to continue to put out my art regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm not acting like I'm still in, you know.
Oh yeah, you're still like in this place.
Yeah. But people do that.
Yeah.
People like, there's like somewhere I saw like this fake airplane.
Oh, I saw that. Like and the chick is like takes photo. Like you can pay to like take photos in that.
Yeah, and I'm like, God damn, what is that? You know, sing it to us, Wyatt. You get real close to the mic.
I'll let you read it.
I know a girl whose one goal was to visit Rome. Then she finally got to Rome.
I know one girl whose goal was to visit Rome. Then she finally got to Rome, and all she did was post pictures of people back at home, because all that mattered was impressing to everybody she's known.
There you go.
Dude, he's a lyrical genius, man.
Yeah,
I know it. Yeah,
but
no, I know what you mean, and like I've thought about that too. Like I've traveled a lot and taken these pictures of these national parks, and I'm fully aware that like certain people, if they're not in the right emotional condition, and they see that and they go, oh man, like, man, look at this guy's life. Like, oh, he looks like he does all these things. And I'm like, you know, hey, like that's just a part of me, you know, and what you don't see is the stuff I actually am most proud of is the hard work and the grinding and all those things, you know. And I had an experience like in life where I was I got promoted at sort of an earlier age, you know, and beat out a lot of people that had the experience that were maybe should have gotten that role. Yeah. And that taught me a lot because, you know, they were I was traveling with these people and I got to see what they were actually doing. But when they saw me, they saw me. What they didn't see was that with my free time, I was going to leadership conferences in Nashville. I was reading all these biographies of these men and things like that, and that's just like life. It just taught me that okay, they thought, no, look at this guy, just this confident guy. Well,
Yeah.
they didn't see all the work behind the end. So I try not to put that on anybody else either. Which is like with social media, you really just don't know until you actually get to know the person.
Yeah.
What's all behind the scenes, but
for sure. Yeah.
it's got to be tough to grow up and see all those images of people. Like I don't know how the younger generations do it with all that social peer pressure on. They're like polished like actors by the time they're in college. Like
I've thought about
it's wild, dude.
So like young athletes,
it
used to be so weird because when the first time like ESPN ever interviewed them, they would struggle through it. They would kind of not. They wouldn't be like poised. But now it's like they can have some freshman on Duke. You put a mic in front of him, and he's done so many interviews. He's talked to so many different people. It's like they're so poised. They're so more like
polished now.
Yeah, and it's like
since AAU.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's like nowadays they get talked to so much. They know how to handle the media. It's like these kids coming up like babies now. Yeah. Like it's gonna be easy for them. You know what I mean?
This is like kind of on that, but it's totally kind of random. But I'm just curious, like for both of y'all, like anytime I've had experiences now where like I'm at let's say a restaurant or meet somebody, a friend or somebody that's like in the younger generation. So our generation, we're the last ones where we didn't get social media until we were like middle school, high school. Everybody else has had it younger, but I feel like younger people, they don't communicate the same way. Like, especially specifically eye contact.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people where I've always felt like you can measure like a man or somebody's confidence, but like how they show themselves in the room, how they make eye contact. Like, from poker perspective, you can just read somebody and say, there's that great, I like the quotes, but there's this quote that's like, let people feel the presence of who you are and let them deal with it.
Yeah.
But I meet all these younger people and I just feel like they don't communicate with eye contact and like the same way. And I wonder if that's because of like how they've grown up on their phones and not just something feels missing from a personal just communication perspective. Well, they're just not confident because they have to be so polished on Instagram all the time. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like some of that would have to do with like parenting.
Yeah.
I feel like some of that basic stuff like that would be instilled in a young, like, I remember like my mom, like we were leaving somewhere and she'd be like, all right, go tell so-and-so bye. And not just like trying to be cute, but like to condition me that's appropriate thing to do when you leave or wherever you're at.
Right.
You know what I mean? Hold that door for that lady.
Yeah.
And like you get these little like things that you're kind of directed to do as a small child.
Yeah.
That when you get older, it's like that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like I don't know, was the parent not like instilling some of that confidence in them by like allowing them to kind of be like absent-minded in public, or not absent-minded, but like checked out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I really don't know. I just like it's something I've like picked up on, but it made me kind of think about like I did this experiment the other day, and I did it with Susanna, and there's this another quote which is that like you are. I'm going to butcher it now, but it's like you are a reflection of like the world around you, or no. You shape the world and then it shapes you right back.
Yeah.
And so the idea of like, hey, like you have an impact on your environment. And this kind of goes back to the luck thing that we talked about at the very beginning. You have an impact on your environment and then that impacts you. So if I'm going to Wyatt, I'm like, man, you're a terrible person. Well, his response back to me is going to be a different thing and that's going to affect me. Yeah. So we did this kind of experiment the other day where I was like, hey, let's try to be like, just super nice to people and just talk to people that are in these jobs. We had to do a lot of shopping. I hate shopping, so I was like, how do I make this fun? And so you got all these people that do tough jobs, and you've done those tough jobs. I've done them, and so, but we were just really nice to everybody that we met. And dude, the response back was so fun. Like it ended up being the funnest day. Like we walk into Dollar Tree, and the girl was like checking out, and then how you doing today? Oh, I'm doing great. Well, I can't complain. And then we both said, and no one would listen if you did. We like bounce back, and it's someone I just met. And then Susanna's like, I've been to that Dollar Tree. I've met that girl so many times. Never seen that, sort of experiment, or reaction, I guess. Not experiment, but reaction from that. But it was just so interesting that, like, just by me saying, okay, I'm going to try to be more positive today or like be more positive on my interaction with people, that it created, we go to the drive-thru to get ice cream, and we're in her little white Lexus, and I start talking to the guy, and he's like, just because I guess he felt my energy or something, he was like, dang, man, your whip is nice. And I was like, man, just trying to take it easy out here. And like we had this back and forth, and then he gave me a free ice cream, because it's like, hey man, this one's on the house, like, and then he said keep pimping or something like that, but we had this thing, and then I slipped him a few bucks or whatever, but it was just so funny because it was like just like all these like things were happening, and then it was kind of driving Susanna crazy because she's like, how'd you get that for free? And like, how did this happen?
Dude,
and it was just weird, but it just, what you were talking about just made me think about that,
So, all right. Yeah. Going to your thing about like eye contact and just confidence.
Yeah.
It's like, I was kind of raised on that same, like, not raised, but I kind of have the same, like, when I pass you in a grocery store, like I'm giving like the bro nod.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I sometimes it's so weird because I'll do that to anybody.
Right.
And I feel like there's some guys that are kind of like they'll turn their head
they'll
away, and I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to be weird. I'm just trying to be nice. Like I acknowledge you exist. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Women, and I know it's like I don't know if it's so many serial killer podcasts or whatever.
And those are very popular right now.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not trying to be a creep. I'm just like, we're about to run into each other. You know what I mean? Like we're going down the aisle. I'm just like, I see you. I'm going to move out of the way. And they're just, I just like, I'm like, okay, I feel, you made me feel like I'm like fucking a creeper or some shit. And I'm like, I'm just being here. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But it's like, it's weird when people don't have just kind of like social etiquette where it's just a casual being nice. Because like, I get it if like, and I know women have to deal with a lot of crazy shit. So I understand why they would try to like defer from like maybe me like talking to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they have to deal with dudes like being creepers.
Their guards are like have to be more.
So I get that, but like, I don't know. No. It's weird when somebody is just like, even guys. It's just when they're like, don't even like acknowledge that you're even there, and you're being like nice. You know?
When you just say excuse me, and some people just look at the ground.
Yeah, no, it's like, that's so fucking weird.
I mean, that's probably like two stories. Like the first time going to New York City. After leaving the South, and this is one of the things I love about the South is that we are so nice to people, and there's this sort of properness that, in the right context, is great because it's really we treat people with respect, and a lot of that was because the South's been poor for many years, and you have to kind of rely on your neighbors, and that's still sort of part of the culture. But that first time I held the door for somebody in New York City, and that guy or girl looks at me and is like, I'm not walking in front of you, and it was like she thought I maybe was going to do something or something, I was like, okay, that was a little weird. My sister-in-law, first time she came down to Arkansas, and she grew up in Washington. Yeah. And
Suzanne? No.
Her name is Casey. So this is
your brother's?
My brother's wife.
Okay.
Yeah, they just got married. They live in Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, she came down to Arkansas, and the funniest reaction was that she went to Kroger. And she comes back, and she's like, her face was like bright, and I was like, something like, "Are you okay? Like, did you just win the lottery or something?" And she had a positive interaction where the teller, like, she's like, "Yeah," the teller just like asked me like how my day was doing, and she like meant it, And she asked me like, how I was doing, what was going on, what's new. And, you know, she was like, it made me feel like felt and like, you know,
Warm
and
inside.
like, and then she was just asking me that. I was like, yeah, that's like a normal thing in the South. Like we ask you how you're doing,
Yeah.
you know, when you're at the grocery store, you know, and it just her response told me everything I need to know about Washington, you know, and in those areas, you know, where people don't treat, you know, whatever that is. I don't know what that is, but that like not acknowledging somebody or whatever.
There's one QT gas station that I stop at, and there's a guy that works in there, a teller, that is literally the nicest person I've ever met.
Yeah.
He is so like bubbly.
Okay.
Just like, hey, how are you? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, it is like a lot.
Yeah.
But every single person, like if you look and watch him, every person he interacts with, just is like, they kind of like lighten up and like smile. They could be going up there like looking drab as shit.
Yeah.
Get up to him and he is so like overly positive.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, and it's kind of like nice to be around. You know, I don't know anything about this guy.
Yeah,
I probably should ask him.
But you want to be around,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's just so nice, and you could tell, like, you know, I've seen him in the gas station when he's not a teller, like he's like making pretzels or whatever. Yeah, and he's just, you know, it's not like he's. But when he talks to a person, it's like that is who he's gonna be.
That's so awesome,
like,
dude.
And
you like you wanted to be around it, huh?
Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's something that I haven't experienced because it's like I've been around nice people, but this guy was intentionally gonna be nice to anybody he talks to. You know what I mean?
Well, man, it just made me think of like this is more of a I would say somber way, but it also is in similar shows the perspective. I was in on the way back. I was in New Jersey for work, and I was on the airport, and you know I was tired, man. I pulled like an all nighter and was chasing a girl up there or something, you know, back then, and you know we were going out, and I'd been on the road for like 4 weeks. I'm like about to get home, and I was so tired. So just sitting in that airport, and I see this guy, and he's just in front of me, and he's a military guy. Yeah, he's wearing his uniform, but you could tell like that was the airport where when they had just came back in their first flight to get home was. Yeah, but you could just tell like he was just like upset. Like his face said it, his emotions said it. He was just very wrought with whatever pain. I just was I was watching him and just like imagining whatever was going on in his life, and then I just watched like for an hour and a half of all these people just walk up to him. This the first started with this old couple walk up to him, and they said, "Hey man, like you know," they just started shaking his hand, said, "Hey, thank you so much, like for your service. How are you doing?" And he started perking up. And then more than this like redneck dude comes out of nowhere. He's like, "Hey man, like thank you for your service," you know, and he just like, and then I just watched all these interactions for an hour and a half of people that walked up and tried to talk to him and said thank you. And he really like changed. Like he went from upset, almost looked like he was crying or something, to like, you know, like almost, I wouldn't say happy, but it just completely changed. And it was like such like a happy personal moment from all these strangers of just people walking up to this guy and just talking to him that changed who he was and how his perspective, and like that image always like sits in my head sometimes, you know, about just you know, man, just like be nice to people because you don't know, man, and I just wonder if like back to that, if like we don't communicate, if our younger generations, because they're going off their phone, they don't communicate the same way or know how, they don't have those skills as well, you know.
Gosh. Yeah,
that's another deep topic, I guess. It's going off the rails. Yeah.
Dude, I feel like we could probably talk all night about
I feel like we could, and I don't think we talk too much about finance, so.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. As long as you're good with that.
No, I think like any kind of deep introspective thought is great. All right, well, I got one question to ask you. All right,
all right, let's hear it.
Let's see. If you could live anyone's life for a day, who would you choose and why?
So it's for a day.
One day. You could live past or alive.
For one day.
One day.
Okay. I think I know the answer to it, and it's going to apply to sort of the same theme that we have, but it's one guy's day. Okay,
one day.
all right. So can I throw out two answers to this?
If you want to, and
All
this is your opportunity to tell me whatever you want to tell me.
All right. So, have you ever seen Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to live the day in the Lord of the Rings.
You want to be Schmeagol or some shit?
No, but there's this. So without getting too much in the history, but this actually goes back to Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
All right. So he would be number one, and
Benny.
He has this day where he went to France, and a long story. He helped convince France to support the United States and their war against Britain.
Him and somebody else too, right?
Well, he went over there to
chlamydia, right?
What?
Huh?
What?
He was riddled with chlamydia.
Maybe.
Right.
Anyways,
I don't know if that applies, but he was.
Sorry.
So like he went over there to France during the war. Thomas Jefferson went over there with him the first time.
Okay, maybe.
But Benjamin Franklin stayed there for about 10 years during the war. Yeah, and he had this perspective where he had to he wanted to get in with the elites of the French elites to get to the king, and so he kind of acted like a spy. So he played upon the whole their view of him as this American with the cap and this wild guy. So some of what we view Benjamin Franklin as a ladies' man isn't historically as accurate, but it was part of this persona that he helped build, the Mr. Clutch, to help get him because that's how they were viewing him, and so he played into that, so that way it could get him closer to the king to then help convince. So, but he had this day. I mean, they thought he was the most fascinating guy out there in France. Well, there's this scene this day, since you brought up the question, where he's about to sail back to the United States, and it was after 10 years. Well, on that day, it was like a boat. It reminded me of the end of Lord of the Rings. Do you remember Lord of the Rings when Frodo was getting in the boat to sail off into the do you guys remember that at all?
I think so, yeah.
It's the very end of the last movie, right? So he's going to sail to the land of the elves to live forever, and it's all the people that were part of the journey were there saying goodbye, and it was this big thing. Well, they threw this big farewell for this guy where he had kings and queens and all the most interesting people in Europe were all there. Scientists and all these things were part of this big farewell for him. So, I just think that was would have been really cool to see or experience, because it was a part of a time. It was one of those rare times where it was all the most interesting people in the world were at one place at one time to say goodbye to this American guy, that was a true American.
Yeah.
And then I think it'd been really cool to be. I learned this when I went and hiking Arches, but whenever Theodore Roosevelt and I think I don't know if it was John Muir or whoever the guys were that founded Arches.
Yeah.
They spent that night camping underneath the arches, and then they had the fire bounce. They said the fire was bouncing off the red walls, and so it created among all the arches the shadow dances. And I just someone that loves the West. I would have loved to live that day where I could camp out by arches and have the fire. And back when things were all natural, I think that would be just a great day. Yeah. What about you? I'm sure you've answered that 4 times now, or
no? That's the first time I asked it, but I think I might ask it every podcast.
I like that.
To end on, because I feel like everybody's going to be different. So, for me, let's see.
It's a hard question on the spot. I like that. It's
I think
you did a whole essay for yours. I feel like you thought about that.
No, I'm just a history nerd sometimes, so I'm able to get more into it, but
that was fucking A+.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think it would have to be the day, I don't know, the day Michael Jordan hit that shot against the Jazz.
I remember that. Yeah, he did the big crossover.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Say even if your day started the moment that shot went in.
Yeah.
And you lived the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just the crowd going nutso.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you doing the press conference after, you going home, like just with all the weight lifted off of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I think that would be I don't know. That was the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah.
I didn't have an answer to my own question.
No,
but
no, you're good.
I think that would be a sick, like.
Well, it's like it's such an interesting question because it's like a day, like it's
One
one day. Like, so you got to think about what are some crazy days, like you've got the, or is it a war thing? Is it, something that has to do that one day that maybe changed the world with certain things, like.
Can you alternate anything in that day, or are you just
I think just live.
You're
live
that one
day.
person.
Or you just watch from
You're
a bird's
living
eye
the
view?
you're living the day. Like so you do the things that they would do, but you're I guess watching it maybe. Like you have their eyes. You're getting to experience the whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like Michael Jordan wakes up, he's like, okay, game 6. He probably knows it's like his last day, and like leading up to that moment, being in there and then doing the crossover, the drain, what that felt. Yeah, I mean that would be a heck of an experience.
Yeah.
But did he wake up
I can't
with
hear
anxiety? You. Did he wake up with that?
I don't know. He's so confident. I imagine that he had to have had it. He's human.
Yeah. Exactly.
But he's so confident. I don't know. You know
is
what I
that
mean?
all for show? Is that all for the?
He might be.
He was so trained to be in front of the microphone.
I'm sure. And he's human. I would assume so.
That would be cool thing to experience. But.
Yeah, it'd all be cool. Like just imagine coming home to your kids, or I don't have any kids, but like just that feel like coming home to your wife.
Yeah,
you just did that. You know what I mean? She saw it. She wasn't even there, or she was there, or whatever. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of moments like in golf, like where the guy like hits the putt, like a 30-foot putt to win, like to win, and it's a big thing, or to hit a winning shot, or the guy, the Giants last night won on a walk-off grand slam. Like, just how does that day feel? Yeah. But it is wild about life that like when you like look at your life, like. It ends up just being marked by these like moments, and then little space in between these little highlights. Yeah. That was cool.
All right, one story before we go.
Okay,
you're talking about arches. My buddy Mark, he's the first person that ever like I guess made me experience this, forced it upon me. But it was like we were camping. We did this in Arkansas, but we did it in Arches too.
Okay.
So Mark wanted to do this night hike. The stars and Arches are like crazy.
Really? Dang. That sounds.
The moon's out. So, I guess Mark used to do this with his like Boy Scout troop or some shit.
Okay.
They would make them shut the lights off and hike in the dark.
Yeah.
So, dude, we were hiking into this like, it was a gap into like two sandstone walls.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And it was a trail, but we don't know. We've never been there. But the moon is just bright as shit.
Yeah.
And you're just hiking, and you can see everything just fine. Your eyes have adjusted.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because the light's off. And we get in there, and like it opens up to this like sandy little spot that looks like it's from a movie. You know what I mean? It's
man!
And you could just see the stars through the top of the sandstone. That's a day I wish I could relive again. One, you know what I mean? But it's just Arches is fucking crazy. Dude.
I mean, I remember that with like the Grand Canyon, like just the hike and doing it. You start it in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
it's 3 a.m. But seeing the stars like for the first time, like really seeing them in a place like that, it's like an experience that I had this. There's a lot of experience that you just can't take back. But I had this time when I was in Hawaii and I was like rushing to go see somebody, and I passed by like where this trail was.
Yeah.
And because I was in such a rush of like just whatever life work thing I had to do. Well, then on the way back, so I ended up hiking all the way to the top of this mountain, and I was trying to get this perfect spot for the sunset or whatever. And on my way down, I just like stopped and I looked around, and I saw like the most beautiful view where it was like the sun was going, it was like orange sky, the like clouds were overneath, it was very green, and the island, and I just like kind of learned like, man, like slow down and just open your eyes. Like this place is amazing, but I felt like in that moment, like, all right, I'm like changed by this. Like, I cannot come back from what I just saw.
And sometimes things like that hit you. And
it's like
I can't believe that I'm having this experience.
Yeah,
Mason, Do you ever feel like that at a festival?
all the time. Yeah.
Like if you're sitting there and there's a song hits you
Song, environment, all of that. It's just like,
and you just don't want to leave that
oh, yeah.
environment right
Yeah.
there.
You get in there, it's like day 2 of 4 days. You know that you got 2 more days of this.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about work. You don't have to worry about a damn thing. You know what I mean?
That's one cool thing I've learned about going with you.
Yeah. The
Just
festival's
enjoy that little moment.
that
where you're
moment in time. It's all yours. You know what I mean? Do whatever you want to do.
it makes
but-
you feel happy. Like just
Yeah, I get that same feeling when you're just out alone, not even alone, but just where you can have a little peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just absorb the amazingness around you. You know?
Well, because I've always felt, and this is after like dealing with like pressure and being good under pressure and things like that. Like I just had this feeling in my 20s where I was like, you know what, like give me big challenges, like give me big shoes to fill. I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna knock those out. Like put me under the pressure, throw me in on a pressure situation. I'm gonna rise to the challenge. I'm gonna give it my best. I'm gonna do well. But give me like a rainy trail, like in the Pacific Northwest. Like give me the winds and the air, of the ocean. A little freckled girl that I'm with, that I'm enjoying it with, like give me that. Those are the actual shoes that I want to fill, and those have led a good direction in my life to have those experiences. But those are the shoes I want to fill. And I can do the pressure. I can do the business. You knock out a few goals in your life. You're like, okay, that's who I am. I can do that. But those are the moments, those things when time stands still. Those are what makes like the life.
I mean, that's why we do it, man.
Yeah, that's why we do it. That's why we keep doing the next trip and the next trip.
You work so hard just to be able to taste that one more time. You know what I mean?
Man, this has got me want to go like climb a mountain or something right now. Yeah.
All right, Matt. We're pushing 2 hours. Let's go, dude. Our longest podcast.
All right. Well, it's a great time, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be on it. Episode number 4. I know that you'll have more episodes.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on, dude. I think we actually may have learned something today, Wyatt.
Oh, man.
The rest of our podcast was all...
retained it, but...
Yeah, the rest of our episodes, we were just kind of... It was just a goofball time, but I think we might actually have eclipsed some knowledge today.
If you guys are better people through my failures and nerdiness and learning things, then that I would say this was a good job well done.
That's all we want, dude.
Yeah.
That's all we learn something. All right, man.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Great.
Bro.
Yeah.